Hello and welcome to the official launch of Hogo Game Day with Travis Terry, founder of HogoHiggy.com. I'm Dylan Hutton, and we also have quite a few other people here in the background tonight. The Marion High School students, they're pumped up ready for this big matchup between the Marion Scarlet Hurricanes and the Chilhowie Warriors. And Travis, you want to go ahead and do a few opening statements before we get the show started tonight?
Well, I want to talk about the hard work Dylan and I put in to actually get this thing going. I've been doing HogoHiggy.com for a number of years and actually got to a point where I almost didn't want to do it anymore. College and school and work had really caught up with me. And then a couple years ago on a message board, somebody said, you know, it'd be really cool if we did like a college game day for high school. I was like, you know, that's a good idea, but, you know, I don't have the time, the energy, the help. But then Dylan comes along, and he's like, man, I'll give you the time, the energy, and the help. So here we are now. We finally got it underway, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and tonight's matchup should be a good one. Before we start off, I'd like to take a moment and introduce the rest of the staff. Later on in the show, you'll get to meet Travis DeBusk. He'll also be on the pregame show doing a weather update, and he'll also be doing the color commentating for the live game broadcast, which will be on here later. Andy Brown is in charge of our audio technology and live game broadcast specialist. He's more of our behind-the-scenes guy, but we'll show him to you all later on. Zach Bird, he's also on the staff public relations and advertising is what he will do for us. Also, Donna Delp will be our social media person, and you can go right on HogoHiggy.com and actually click Meet the Crew, and you can see everybody there. Also a little biography on each person. That's the crew. This is the show, and we've got a lot to cover here in the next hour. Up next, we're going to talk with head coach for the Marion Scarlet Hurricanes, Joey Carroll. Later on, we're going to talk with Hurricanes basketball coach Chad Bailey. Then we're going to look around at tonight's weather in the district, which has gotten a little spotty here. We just now saw a cloud come over us. Then we're going to do a pregame talk with Warriors basketball coach Matt Snodgrass. Then we're going to do our preseason predictions. And last but not least, our picks, including that game here at Marion High School, where everyone's excited for the big game here. Signs out. Everybody's ready to go. And, Travis, you want to give a little background before we go into commercial break?
Well, like I mentioned, you know, we're pulling this thing together, and it took a little bit of time, but we got our sponsors behind us, and even my friend Brian, who came all the way down to help us set up this nice sound system for the students to hear us and everything. So just excited to get it underway, and we'll be right back.
Let's go into commercial break. Let's make some noise for your head coach. He's getting ready to come on.
Hogo Game Day, the HogoHiggy's premier pregame show, brought to you by Abingdon Equipment, Serber & Son, Big M Farm Service, Glade Pharmacy, Political Dogs.
Hello and welcome back to Hogo Game Day. This is Dylan Hutton, and we're here now with our first special guest of the evening, head coach for the Marion Scarlet Hurricanes, Joey Carroll.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Appreciate you having me on here.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Coach, building up to this big game here tonight. We were here just about a month ago getting ready for the season. It's hard to believe it's already here, so we're definitely excited to see the team come out tonight.
Yeah, it sneaks up on you. Your preseason's never as long as you'd like it to be. I know for those guys sitting up on the porch up there, you can see them. They were ready for this one about a week and a half ago to be here. They're tired of beating up on each other, and the scrimmages and the benefit game, those are good, but they're ready to hit some orange and black.
So let's go back and talk about some things here in the preseason that you were able to do. You had success at the first ever Hogo Game Day 7-on-7 that we hosted at Patrick Henry High School. Actually went on and won the tournament. It was a 7-on-7 tournament. It was a really fun day. It was a hot day, but it was a fun day nonetheless. And can you talk about how your team built off of that 7-on-7 success?
Well, 7-on-7s are big for us, especially offensively. We run the spread, and timing up the routes, getting the quarterbacks in sync with the receivers, and getting all the timing down and things like that. And just being able to compete, that's the big thing in the off season. You got to find ways for you guys to compete all the time. And it was a great thing. I'm really thankful you guys did that, and hope you keep doing it in the future. And it's just for us, it was just a competitive venue for us to get out there and compete a little bit, and the kids had fun, and we enjoyed it.
So moving on from the 7-on-7, you've moved in later in the preseason. You've done scrimmages and some benefit games. Can you give us some results about how those have went so far and some surprises you've pulled from your team through those?
Well, I probably won't give you too many surprises just yet, but I think overall you have some questions going into those kinds of games. I feel like we got more answers out of those games than we had questions come out of the games. You're going to see stuff on film that's going to bring up questions, but I feel like we got more answers than questions. We had some, just like everybody else, we had some things out of those that, you see things on film, and, you're thinking, well, can this guy do this? Do we have him, we're asking him to do too much or too little, but I feel like we got more answers than questions, and they were definitely beneficial for us, and, we know, and those guys up there know we've got to get better. We got to move forward. We got to keep moving forward.
And talking about things that you have gotten better at this early season, can you tell us some things you're most pleased with your team as you're growing, building up to this game here tonight?
I would probably say just the team aspect. This will be my fourth season as a head coach here, and we've had some great teams. We've had, as far as the team aspect goes, but this group, they're doing a great job of gelling together, coming together. They know that's how you win, and if you're not a team, that's how you're going to lose. And they've done a great job of doing that. So I think probably biggest thing would be that just gelling as a team and come together as a team.
Okay.
All right. So jumping back to last year's matchup, this game, it's always the first game of the year. Well, it has been for the last 15 or so years. It's your first year in the Hogo last year. This was your first Hoga Higi game. Is there less pressure coming into this game, or was there any more pressure in that game because it was a district game, or did you always kind of look at it as this is still Chilhowie no matter what?
I'll say great question, but it was Marion and Chilhowie last year, and it was Marion and Chilhowie the year before that, and it was Marion and Chilhowie the year before that.
Right. And
the 50 years before that. It doesn't matter what district we're in, what district they're in. It doesn't matter. It's Marion and Chilhowie, and it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a hard-hitting ball game, and I'll try to answer your question. There's always pressure on this game. This game sets a tone for both teams, sets a tone for the season, and we want to get off to a good start, and those guys want to get off to a good start, and we're going to do everything we can to do that.
And because it is the first game of the year, and it's unique now to have a district game, the first game of the year, do you ever see that changing, or would you like to keep it the first week if it were up to you?
I think on the interview we spoke, if I had a choice to change it, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I just think for us, and I know it works the same way over there for them, but we don't have to look very far for motivation in the off season. We've got Chilhowie, that the countdown clock we've got in there. It goes up, and there's 180 days till Chilhowie. And they see it and they're ready to go. And I wouldn't change it. I think I told Dylan we've got to play them game one, and while it puts us in, it puts us in some predicaments, and it does the exact same thing to them. So, I wouldn't change it.
All right, so looking at some players from last season that are gone and some new players coming in. Obviously, you had Trey Crook. He's a hard one to replace, but Hunter Leffler stepped in. Has he had a pretty good preseason? Do you what's his mindset coming into his first ever, I guess, start. Was it his first start at quarterback?
Yes.
But he played some valuable relief duty last year too. So I mean, he's not completely green.
Yeah, he took quite a few snaps last year. He's ready to go. Last week in the benefit game, and we've talked, and he was pressing a little bit. He was trying to make a big play on every play, and he has the capability to do that. He has the abilities to be able to do that. But we've told him that his athletic ability and his football IQ and his ability to play the game of football is at such a high level that if he just plays the game, then those big plays are going to be there. So he's going to do a great job. He's ready to go. He's fired up, and we'll have to make sure to maybe hand the ball off first play of the game, maybe to get him, make sure get him settled in there. But then we'll get going from there.
Did you hear that? They're going to hand the ball off in the first play of the game.
Maybe play action.
Another player I want to speak about is Sam Wagner. Now we all know he's a tough kid. You wouldn't want to be in front of him if he's running at you, but he's wearing different number today and in memory of his father. So can you speak on his mental toughness, not just his physical toughness? Obviously, we know he's a tough kid.
It's hard for me to speak on this. My wife would tell you something. I'm an emotional person behind closed doors, and I'm not afraid to be emotional. I think sometimes Sam and I have had long discussions about things that have happened and how he's dealt with them and how he's been he's grown up in a hurry. He's had to, and so he's done a great job of that. And I told him just the other night that he's amazed me. I'm amazed by him that he's been able to get through that the way that he has. And I don't know if I'd still be in one piece if I was in that situation. And I don't think we could ever try to understand what he's going through. But he's definitely done a great job, and he's going to wear that jersey tonight, and he's going to wear it with pride.
Yeah, that's great. He's definitely one of my favorite players to watch around the district, and I don't know him personally, but I just imagine he's just a tough kid, good kid. So
I got another question here. It's not on the sheet, but going in to tonight's matchup, we'll go ahead and talk about tonight's game. Can you give us some matchups you see that could play a pivotal role in tonight's game and the outcome of tonight's game?
Well, up front, they're good up front. They've got some guys back. They've got some experience back, and so we've got to try to establish and control the line of scrimmage. And the game of football starts and stops there. And so that's a big matchup. And just across the board, you can have all the matchups and do all the chalk talk and all the stuff on the board in this ball game you want, but it's Marion Chilhowie. Crazy things are going to happen. It's going to be hard-hitting football, people flying around, and you never know what to expect.
Yeah, because talking about that Chilhowie offensive line, they returned 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line. They also have a great tight end there in Tyler Price.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Also a defensive end. He makes a lot of impact on defense.
He does a great job both sides of the ball. He can move around. He runs well. He catches well. He does all the things that a great football player can do, and he's a great football player.
All right, well, Coach, I guess we'll let you get back to your team. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
First ever Hogo pregame show, and thanks to Coach Carroll for coming out here for us.
Yeah, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're going to go to another commercial break. We'll be right back.
Hogo Game Day, the Hoga Higgies premier pregame show. Brought to you by Abingdon Equipment, Serber and Son, Big M Farm Service, Glade Pharmacy, Political Dogs.
All right, welcome back. This is Dylan Hutton, and we're back here at Marion High School, and we've got another guest here with us, somebody who's going to be a big part of the show from here on out, Travis DeBusk. He's going to be the color commentator for the Hogo Sports Radio Network with me later on tonight. So thanks for coming early, Travis.
Hey, no problem. You know what? We're excited. It's going to be a fantastic game to kick off the 2014 Hoga Higgy District season. We're excited to be here in Marion tonight.
Yeah, we're excited to be here, and we're going to go ahead and get into our preseason predictions, starting off with just everybody in the district, an overlook of where we see the standings. So we're going to go ahead and start. Travis, you want to go ahead and start at 7 and work your way up to 1.
All right, I'm going to start here at the bottom. And before this was tough, and I'll explain it a little bit more as we go along. But at number 7, I'm going to go with the Holston Cavaliers. You're probably thinking, well, golly, how in the world could they? You know, they played for the championship basically in that season finale against Chilhowie last year, but and you know, went to the playoffs 6 of the last 7 seasons, and you think, could they have really fallen that far that fast? But you know, a brand new coach, and they struggled a little bit in the preseason. I'm going to have to go with Holston in my 7th slot.
All right, so Holston in your 7th slot. Let's work our way up. Let's go to 6. Who do you have 6th?
Well, in 6th, I think it's Patrick Henry. These guys have finished in the bottom for several years now. I mean, they've just not been able to recreate that magic that they had about a decade ago. You know, in their late 90s, early 2000s, they won a lot of ball games. And it's been a struggle for a while there at Patrick Henry. They've got good athletes. They've got a good senior class, but I just don't look at it getting a whole lot easier for this year. So I got Patrick Henry picked to finish 6th.
Yeah, I have the same 2 teams in that order. Holston 7th, Patrick Henry 6th. Holston, I just got the lack of talent and skill positions. If somebody can come out and make some noise at the wide receiver position this year for Holston, let Seth Thomas have a target to get the ball to, I think that could be a really dangerous team. I think teams going to Holston could have a hard time. But for now, Holston, with the way they are right now, 7th place team in the district. PH will start 3-0. That's my bold prediction here this season. Go ahead and write it down. PH will start 3-0 with the non-district. They haven't proved themselves in the district, however. They haven't won a Hogo game since 2009, and I'm not sure if it's going to happen this year. But they definitely got the talent, and they're loaded on the offensive side of the ball. They just need a lot of improvement on the defensive side. So, Travis, let's go ahead and jump up and talk about 5 and 4 before we get to the top 3.
All right, well, 4th and 5th was pretty easy for me. In the 5th slot, I got the Roll Retreat Indians. They're breaking in a new coach, but I think they're going to pick up a couple wins in the district. And in 4th place, I got Northwood. And I think you can pretty much count on Northwood finishing 4th. It's like this. They're not going to beat either of the 3 guys I got in front of them, and they're not going to lose to the 3 teams I got below them. So Northwood's definitely a lock, I believe, right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, Northwood's a very talented team. Let's go ahead and move up to 4th before I give you my picks.
Well, I got Northwood at 4, so 3rd we're going to go with Chilhowie. So I got the Warriors finishing 3rd. I got George Wythe finishing 2nd. And let's hear it back there, guys. I got Marion winning the whole thing. Let's hear it for the Scarlet Hurricane.
Yeah, we got the fans back here behind us. I've got the same thing as you. I've got Roy Retreat 5th. They're a sophomore team, basically. Basically, all the starters are sophomores. Big offensive line, big defensive line. New coach and Coach Akers. We'll see how they do this year. But, like, they start against Fort Chiswell tonight, so they'll get a really good barometer and a good test at Fort Chiswell. And 3rd place is an upset pick, and it's probably going to get some of these Marion people excited for what I've said. I've got Northwood, Chilhowie 4th. New faces, but they're still a contender. Now, my upset pick in the whole season-wise, Northwood, 3rd place in the district. Blake Olinger at running back is one of the stronger running backs here in the district. Whenever you take out Sam Wagner out of the equation, them 2 are probably the 2 best. 2nd place, I've got George with speed. Wins championships, and speed on defense will also be a huge key. You look at tonight's matchup they got with Radford. We'll break that down here pretty soon. 2 teams with speed. It's going to be a very good game. Darius Moore at QB is a two-way threat. He's left-handed. He really played well at the Game Day 7-on-7. In first place, of course, I've got to go with the Marion Scarlet Hurricanes. Wagner and this offense, Riley Belevins, Hunter Leffler at quarterback. This defense is underrated as well. I think Marion wins the district based on offensive talent, and I love this hurry-up spread that they go with. So Marion, from both of us, is going to be the contender out of the Hogo.
Well, Marion's going to win the district, but it's not going to be easy. Let's keep that in mind. They've got a really tough schedule. They're going to lose a few along the way, but, yeah, they're still my pick to win it all.
Uh-oh. That might have been a little key looking into the future picks. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the weather here. Or do you want to wait and do the weather?
Let's do the weather.
Let's go ahead and do the weather. Travis DeBusk here with the weather, everyone.
All right, well, Al Roker taught me well, so I'm going to be delivering the weather tonight right here in Marion for a game that we're going to have the live broadcast for coming up on 7 o'clock. A little overcast right now, and we think that'll continue to be the case once game time, once kickoff rolls around at 7 o'clock. Temperature around 78 degrees, so it's still going to be pretty warm. Humidity's going to be high, about a 40% chance of a thunderstorm, so we'll keep our eyes out for that, so hopefully we can get through it dry. Thomas Walker's at Patrick Henry tonight. The weather in Patrick Henry's about the same, going to be 80 degrees. They're only going to have a 20% chance of rain in Emory come kickoff time. Northwood at Twin Springs. It's going to be warm over there. 85 degrees, 20% chance of rain. Winds out of the south at 4 miles per hour for the Twin Springs game. Roller Treats just up the road a little ways at Fort Chiswell. About the same weather we've got here. 80 degrees and 20% chance of rain there. George Wythe up on the New River against Radford. Going to be 80 degrees there, another 20% chance of rain. And Holston's over at Rye Cove, and believe it or not, this is the warm spot tonight. Going to be 87 degrees at kickoff.
Oh, wow.
The game at Rye Cove, so still hot, and the wind's going to be about 2 miles an hour out of the south. So it's going to be a hot ball game over there in the hole at Rye Cove.
Yeah, it is going to be a very warm ball game. Thank you for the weather, Travis. You heard our preseason picks. Both of us had Marion going all the way. Up next, we're going to interview Marion Scarlet Hurricanes basketball coach Chad Bailey.
Hogo Game Day, the Hogo Higgies premier pregame show, brought to you by Abingdon Equipment, Cerberus, Big M Farm Service, Wade Pharmacy, Political Dogs.
Alrighty, we heard the Marion student section there. They're pumped up for tonight's game against the Warriors.
Was that the choir?
Now we've got Marion basketball coach Chad Bailey here, and thanks for coming on here.
Well,
we know this is a busy time of year for you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Thank you guys for doing this. This is really awesome. So you guys do a fantastic job, and we're just blessed and privileged that you guys are here to start off week one with us here.
Well, thank you, Coach.
Marion.
Yeah, I've been in contact with Bailey all week. He's been keeping my nerves down. I wasn't sure how well it would work, but he's like, I got you back, brother. That's all he told me several times. So He's got my back, and now he's here in my face. So here we go. So let's talk a little bit about last season's basketball. You finished 10-12. A little bit of success in, you got a playoff run and everything like that. But how do you feel like this year compared to last year in terms of what to expect? Who you got coming back? I think you lost 4 seniors from last year. Is that right?
We did. We were really inconsistent last year, and that was one of the problems. And we were coming off a really good season. We had actually graduated 6 seniors the year before, and so we had some guys step in that were some roles that were kind of new to them, and they had to step up and take a little more on, and I think it took us a little while to get used to that. I'm really excited to see what we do this year. I think we got a bunch that's real eager to go. Riley Blevins really stepped up. He came up as a freshman, and he got hurt and didn't play really the last part of his freshman year. And his sophomore year, he kind of had a little sophomore slump, and he really stepped out last year. Was our leading scorer, was the Smith County News and Messenger Player of the Year. He was all conference, and everywhere we played, he was the quickest player on the court, and including summer season and all. And so to have him back and to have his leadership is going to be really, really key for us. And also Hunter Leffler will be another returning starter for us, and he can absolutely shoot the lights out. And when he gets hot, he's a streaky shooter. He's fun to watch. So this bunch is real excited. They're begging me to get back in the gym right now. We're going to get back in next week, and so we're really looking forward and see what the future holds for us.
Yeah, so the 2 players you mentioned, Riley and Hunter, we should see a lot of them tonight, you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hunter's taking over the realms as quarterback, and there's some pretty big shoes to fill. Trey Crook did a great job last year, but Leffler is a kid. He's you hear about kids today, and you worry about them being tough-minded. And, we live in a society today where, a lot of kids would rather play video games, and nothing wrong with that. But, focusing on that more, and he's a kid that's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's real competitive, and he's a gamer. He and Riley both, we talk about being gamers, so I'm really looking forward to see what they do tonight.
So talk about a little bit about your off-season basketball. What's preparation like? I know that they recently switched to this whole year kind of practice model and things of that nature. How does that affect a school that's this size, and how do you kind of work around other sports?
Well, there has to be really good communication when you work with other coaches, and I think we do a pretty good job of that here. The Virginia High School League has finally come around on that, because what happened is you just had a vague open gym rule. And the problem with that is that you have kids that show up and you're just supposed to roll the ball out. And so what happens is you can't correct, bad behavior and so or bad tendencies. The great thing about this is it's not, we're not going hardcore, 6 days a week, 6 hours a day practice. It's basically, fundamentals, shoring up some stuff that we do. And it's about time, all other states do that as well. So, I applaud the Virginia High School League for doing that. And, it's more beneficial to the kids.
I've heard the argument that maybe it may help larger schools because they don't share as many athletes.
Absolutely, yeah. And, for us to be a bigger school, and I know when we came to the Hogo Higgy, a lot of people were upset about that. But when we do our physicals and when you look at the number of athletes, we have, less athletes as far as, we share a lot. You got like a guy like Leffler, he's a three sport kid. Riley Blevins, 3 and 4 sport kid. And so, it's not one of those things where, in my first year teaching, I taught in a school that had 1,700 kids. And you had 90 kids come out for basketball, so you had to specialize if you even wanted to make the team, much less play. So, yeah, you've got to work. That's one of the things, and I talked to other coaches. Scotty Vermillion at Gate City, I pick his brain a lot on that. And that's one of the things that he said is key for them is that communication among their coaches. So you got to work with kids, and so the whole program can be successful.
Right. And speaking of you're talking about numbers of athletes. Did you have any? Was there like a difference in numbers this year for players wanting to come out for the team or anything like that?
Last year, about the same.
Yeah.
We had a few more show up for summer camp work. So we'll see what happens this fall or this winter. But I'm pretty excited about it. So
well, good.
Coach, you're here every day at Marion High School talking about this football season with the Marion Scarlet Hurricanes. Can you give us some key players, maybe not Riley Blevins and some of the other guys we've already talked about, but like Sam Wagner, Riley Blevins, and Hunter Leffler? Can you give us some other names to look out for on the gridiron this fall?
Yeah, there are a couple kids that I think will surprise some people that have not really been on the radar and they haven't played, and that I can think of in skill positions would be Chandler Dixon and Aaron Garrison, and neither one of them played last year, and Chandler actually came up and played varsity basketball for us as a sophomore, and he played his 9th grade year, and he actually played varsity baseball, he and Aaron both, as their freshman year, so, you know, that's really added a couple, they're both very quick, they're both very skilled, you know, good hand-eye coordination. So that may be somebody that you may be calling their name tonight. Maybe an X factor.
Yeah, he's going to be a starting wide receiver. At least that's what I've gotten from the depth chart there. Can you go ahead and talk about some guys coming up, maybe some youth for the Hurricanes that might make a difference here tonight against Chilhowie?
As far as seeing some of maybe the JV kids, I'm not real sure. You know, the thing that stood out to me was, you know, the 2 kids that I just mentioned, but other than that, I'm going to be real curious to see how some of those guys, like a Leffler last year, who didn't really play a lot of offense, and now he's going to take all the snaps, hopefully, and to see how they do tonight.
Okay, can you give us a little bit of a prediction here, not for the game right yet, but give us a prediction for who you feel will have the biggest game for the Hurricanes if they get the win here tonight?
Tonight, well, you know, you can never bet against Sam Wagner, and yeah, I think Hunter Leffler maybe. I think he, you know, I haven't really had a chance to talk to Coach Carroll much, and even if I did, I wouldn't give away too much just right before the game. But, yeah, Leffler's a dual-threat quarterback. From what I've seen, he's got a great arm. He's a heck of a pitcher. Like I said, he can absolutely shoot the lies out of a basketball. So I think Leffler may be one that we'll be looking at.
Very athletic kid there, and prediction for the game. Can you give us a little bit of a prediction here for Marion versus Chilhowie, the big rivalry game here in Week 1?
Well, it is a rivalry, and you know, and that's the thing. A lot of times, no matter how good a team is or how bad a team is, when you look at the rivalry, and especially it may have taken a little bit more on now that Marion is in the Hogo district, Smith County. So you know, I think it'll be closer, maybe what people think, but you can never bet against the Hurricanes. So I'm going with
Heard it here. He picked Marion. He probably couldn't help but do it, but he's going to go ahead and do it anyway. Yeah. Well, you got anything else for Coach Bailey?
Yeah, well, looking ahead to I don't want to skip over this game, but next week we are planning to go to Salville for another Marion game. Will you join us again?
Absolutely. Be happy to do it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Coach.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for having me.
Thank you, Coach. And like he said, next week, just to go ahead and throw this in, we'll be at Northwood High School where the Hurricanes will face off against the Northwood Panthers. We'll be right back after this commercial break. We'll be talking with the head basketball coach for the Chilhowie Warriors, Matt Snodgrass.
Hogo Game Day, the Hogo Higgies premier pregame show. Brought to you by Abingdon Equipment, Serber & Son, Big M Farm Service.
Hey guys. Welcome back here to Marion High School right here for the pregame show. We're here now to talk to head basketball coach for the Chilhowie Warriors, Matt Snodgrass. Thanks for coming on, Coach Snodgrass.
This is great. Well, dreams do come true, right?
Yeah,
this
finally,
is awesome.
yeah, we did
finally
it.
got it going.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, we can tell who you're pulling for. I don't know how well our students like that color, but they'll have to get over it for this little segment, won't they?
They'll have to get over it. I came down here ahead of our coaches, so kind of a dangerous thing here. So
Yeah,
hopefully y'all got my back till they get here.
You went away from the wagon train. You're out here.
I did. So.
You're out here alone. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about your Warriors basketball. Last basketball season, you finished 10-12. Can you tell us?
No, 13.
Oh,
We're
sorry about
13
13
and
and 11.
11.
Ooh, I was on the wrong thing. I was on Marion's. Can you give us some things that you pulled from that 13-11 season?
Well, we we had a really hot start. We opened up the year, we're 6-0. I think our JV program started off like 7-0. You know, the whole program was undefeated, had some good things going, and we had some injuries, a couple little things here and there. I thought our district got a little tougher. We played our district games and kind of split with some teams here and there, and started off 6-0 and then only win 13 games. It's kind of disappointing, but we're still proud of what we did, and end up running into a monster in Galax in the postseason. So.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to talk about.
Yeah.
Postseason, you did lose to Galax there, but there's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to get by that powerhouse.
Galax plays really good defense. It's the best defense we've seen all season, and they end up going to state, and they're a good basketball team, so they deserve to win that game.
Right on. So from last year to this year, who do you lose? Who's coming up?
We're losing Conference Co-Player of the Year, Bailey Robertson. Did a lot for us, scored a lot of points, played some good defense. Really going to miss Bailey. We're going to lose Derek Boardwine, Big Red.
Yeah. Derek will be a huge getting rebounds and stuff right off. Yeah.
He had almost 300 rebounds last
wow.
year. I think he had 297.
How does that measure on a school record? Does they even keep track of that? Is it?
I think Tim Polk
Okay.
back in the day had put up some big rebound numbers. But we lose Big Red, we lose Bailey, and we lose a guy who played really good defense for us, and Brady McVeigh. We relied on him to play a lot of good D. So we lose those three guys. We lose some size.
Yeah.
We're going to be really guard heavy this year. Some of our taller kids are guards. One of our taller guys is our point guard, Cameron Kestner. Started as a freshman last year. He's like 6'3", but he's going to run the point for us. And probably our biggest guy is one of our offensive linemen out here, Leo Vitale.
He's going to be.
Yeah, so we're going to be real guard heavy, and we're going to play a little bit different than we did last year.
I'm thinking about 2 years ago, it was kind of even more different teams. A lot of, I guess you call it a run and gun, more or less offense. Is it going to be similar to that?
It's going to be that on steroids, to be honest with you. We're going to really push it, and whatever your definition of fast is, times it by 10. It's going to be. We hope to be exciting, and we experimented with it this summer. We had good attendance over the summer. We played 20 games, team camps here and there. We played Coach Bailey a couple times, and we did some good things. And I'm excited to keep working with this system. And I think the kids started to like it, and I hope it works out.
Yeah,
it should be fun.
That's something I was going to hit on right there about how much your team's changed. The first year you went in at Chilhowie, you had the run and gun. You were shooting the ball, threes every time, making it, coming down court and really pressing a lot. And then we saw second year you played more to the inside, took a little bit safer shots, slowed it down. But now you're going to go back up into fourth gear.
I feel like you've got to adjust to what your players do well. And at this level in small schools, my philosophy is that we're going to adjust to our personnel. And like I said, we're guard heavy. It fits us. We got some guys who can shoot the ball. We have some athletes who can run around and press. So we're just going to try to take advantage of that. So,
any surprises on the schedule coming up different from last year? Do you know?
Something I'm excited about is we're going to UVA Wise to play at that Convocation Center in a post-Christmas tournament.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like December 27th, 29th, and 30th, something like that.
You still doing the Virginia High?
Still doing Virginia High.
You might Chilhowie might be in that tournament longer than Virginia High, actually.
They probably are.
Yeah.
So, yes, doing those two. We're going back to Eastern Montgomery, opening up against Rock Cove at home. Got a home opener this year, and I think the rest is pretty much the same.
Right. Well, before we get into football, you got a clinic coming up for basketball. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Thanks for the plug there. We're doing a basketball coaches clinic at Chilhowie, September 13th. It's on a Saturday. It's a one-day clinic. We've got some pretty big names going. They're going to be coming to us. Steve Smith from Oak Hill. He's just, the name speaks for itself. You don't even really need to give an introduction. Rick Cormany, the head basketball coach at Radford. Jamion Christian, head coach at Mount St. Mary's. They took their team to the national tournament last year, lost in the first four. We've got a good group of coaches coming. We just hope some guys want to come out and try to get better. We're not really trying to make a ton of money off this. It's not really about that. We just want to bring a clinic close to us instead of all the coaches we have to travel to Charlotte or Myrtle Beach or.
What's it been like getting those guys here or to Chilhowie? Has it been like how do you lure them in?
Basically, it's kind of unbelievable. I just called Steve Smith and just asked him, and he said yes.
Oh wow,
I'll be there.
That's
and,
great.
And he said, "Can I go at 10 o'clock?" I said, "Absolutely." You know, it's sometimes it's just a matter of giving that effort to just pick up the phone and call somebody. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can kind of build on it and make it a tradition.
So what's the date on that again?
September 13th.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll jump into football now.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about football. Coach, you're at Chilhowie more than any of these Marion people are. Can you give us the vibe from the players and coaches going into this first week? It's definitely a huge game. Can you give us the vibe that it puts off at Chilhowie, how big a rivalry this is, and how prepared do you feel the Warriors are?
Coach Robinson's definitely got this team prepared. It's one of these things where you don't just start getting excited about Marion this week. You know, it's fueled our fire the entire summer. It's kind of been our preseason thing, which is much like it is for Marion. You just get excited for each other, and you know, I know Marion's got the countdown clock. Chilhowie's got stuff up in the locker room. It's an intense rivalry. It's always has been and always will. So,
can you give us some players to look out for tonight? We know Hunter Delp is now the quarterback, and this is the first time in a while that you don't know of a Chilhowie player coming into the season. It's kind of they're going to have to fill it out and make a name for themselves this year. So do you know ahead of time who's some names to look out for?
Definitely Hunter Delp at quarterback. I think he did a good job last week in the benefit game on his with his legs running the football, getting out and scrambling, getting out of bounds. He does have a good arm. He'll be able to throw it around a little bit if he needs to. Defensively, the name that comes to mind is Xavier Caudell. He had a huge game against Marion last year. You know, not a lot of people know about him, but he's a heck of a football player, linebacker. He's going to have some big tackles tonight, I'm feeling. And so we have some new running backs. Xavier will run the ball a little bit, but it'll mostly be Devin Millsaps.
Okay.
He's a shorter guy, quick back. Remember the name. You'll be hearing about Devin a lot this year.
All right.
Austin, I'm sorry. I coach middle school. I coach middle school, and Devin plays for me. So there was my mess up.
Well, that's a good segue, actually. I was going to ask you, middle school, looking down the telescope there back into the 8th grade, are there any prospects coming up for Chilhowie? Do they need to be looking out for some good players? Or
we have a really good 8th grade group. We've got some kids who can really play football, and I'm really excited about getting ready to send them to Coach Robinson. They really don't even need me out there to coach them. They're kind of like that. So we actually have a big game against Marion Tuesday. So that's been something to kind of get us fired up on middle school level. So we lost to them here by 2 last year. So we're
okay.
lost 14-12. So
All right, as we get ready to talk about more into tonight's game, can you tell us a little bit about you were hitting on the running game there? They lost Buddy Brooks last year at running back. Can you give us some things as far as running back wise that we can look for people that'll fill that hole that he left?
Oh, and Justin Jones too.
And Justin Jones, Justin Jones was the other main back.
It's going to be hard to replace those guys, and Justin carried the ball a lot, and you know, really did a tremendous job. It's going to be Millsaps and Caudell. They're going to step up for us. Logan Nutter at fullback. He's a good blocking back. He might get out in the flats, catch some passes. It really doesn't matter who we sit back there with the offensive line that we have. We're really excited about our offensive line.
That's good.
It really doesn't matter who we give the ball to. I think there's going to be holes as long as they can get through them. So.
And another thing, we're talking about offensive line. A part of that offensive line in about every package with Chilhowie Warrior football is the tight end with a 6-man front. Can you tell us some things? Tyler Price, yeah. Such a great defensive player as well as a tight end. He's a college prospect, a tight end, got great hands, comes out. People think he's a lineman, so they don't cut and they catch him. Most of his biggest bulk of his plays are out there about 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, but he can take off. He's got a lot of speed for his size.
He does. He has a lot of speed. Yeah, he's been working really hard. Definitely look for him tonight to catch some passes. I think that's no surprise to anybody. He's going to be out there. And he's hard to take down. I mean, once he catches it, good luck taking him down. So.
Yeah, he is a force to be reckoned with out there, and we'll see how good this Marion defense can stop him. Let's go ahead and talk about expectations from this game. We asked you about the vibe. Can you give us a prediction of who will be the name that the paper will be talking about after the game tonight? Can you give me a Chilhowie player that you expect to see in the paper?
I'm going to go with one of my basketball guys. I'm going to go with Hunter Delp. I think he's going to have a big night, first night at starting quarterback. He puts a lot of pressure on himself. That's the thing about Hunter, and he's really works hard in basketball, works hard in football. I think he's going to have a pretty big night tonight, and people are going to start figuring out who he is.
Yeah, and like with this matchup, we've got two QBs getting their start for the first time in a
Both
rivalry
hunters.
game. Both of their names are Hunters,
Yeah.
and one's in orange, one's in red,
Absolutely.
or scarlet red. Can you give us a prediction for tonight's game?
The rivalry game. Last year we won. We welcomed Marion to the Hogo.
13-7.
13-7 overtime. I know Marion's going to be fired up. We have to come here. Odds are kind of against us. Why wouldn't I go with the Warriors, guys? Why would you ever bet against Jeff Robinson? And why would you bet against the Warriors?
So you're picking the Warriors.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
his
There
pick.
it is.
I could about tell he was picking for
Yeah.
the Warriors.
Do you at least have a score? I mean, we all assumed you were going to pick Joe Howie. What do you think the difference is going to be in that?
We'll say 34-27.
Close game.
That'd be an exciting game to
high
watch,
scoring.
actually, yeah.
I think both teams are going to score some points tonight.
You think
right.
the nerves? I know last year before we go to commercial break,
Yeah.
the nerves last year seemed like they got both teams a huge amount of turnover. I'm not sure the exact number, but
Yeah.
I think it was up there in the 6 or 7 range.
Right.
Every time a team would get in a red zone, it seemed like there would be a fumble, turnover of some sort, or just a turnover
Yeah.
on downs.
It
Do you
was.
expect a cleaner game this time, just based on how last year went?
I think it'll be a little cleaner. I think the key factor in tonight's game is who's in better shape. Okay,
The humidity, though,
It's hot. It's been a hot week. Everybody's been practicing, and it's been in the mid 80s and stuff. So, who's in better shape? Who's conditioned and that kind of thing. I think it's going to be big.
Well, thank you, Coach, for coming on.
Thanks for
And-
having us.
Yep, thank you.
This is great.
And we'll be right back. Thanks to Coach Snoggers for coming on, and we'll be right back.
Hogo Game Day, the Hoga Higgies premier pregame show. Brought to you by Abingdon Equipment, Serber & Son, Big M Farm Service, Glade Pharmacy, Political Dogs.
All right, welcome back to Hogo Game Day. This is Dylan Hutton along with Travis Terry and the other Travis here, Travis DeBusk. He's back on here with us. Scoot over a little bit, Travis. You're out of the camera. We'll get him back
I think
over
our
here.
camera slid a little bit.
Yeah, I think we slid over. Now he's part of the scene, at least half the way. Let's move the camera here, guys. That's good. All right, so let's go ahead and start breaking down the schedules for each Hoga Higgy team. Let's start with the Holston Cavaliers at Rye Cove. They're going to,
Well,
we're out of order.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with Holston, though. Holston's schedule, they're going to play, well, it's not on here.
yeah, this is last year's stuff.
Yeah,
But I got their
okay.
schedule right here. So hold on a second.
Hold on a second.
I had Rural Retreat lined up for you. There you go.
Yeah, Holston this year, the first week they play Rye Cove. We'll make the selection on that after we get through with this segment of the show. They get Twin Springs, John Battle at home. Then they travel back to Bland County the fourth week. Fifth week they have Marion at Holston High School. Sixth week they have a bye week. Seventh, big rivalry game at home against the Patrick Henry Rebels, which will definitely take a new meaning this year. We'll see how that game pans out. The next week they'll go to Northwood High School, then to Rural Retreat, and then the 31st they will travel to George Wythe. Finish off the season with the Chilhowie Warriors at home. Let's move on now and talk about the schedule for Holston. Guys, what do you see in this schedule for the Cavaliers?
Well, it's a lot of the same faces that you see. I think Rye Cove and Bland are two, and Twin Springs even, are staples that they should probably keep on the schedule. I feel like the talent's kind of dropped off there a little bit. and these will be good games for them to kind of build back on. Last 5 years or so, and not just saying because Matlock was there, they had some tremendous athletes, and they beat George Wythe last year, gave Chilhowie a good run last year, but I think this is a rebuilding phase for them, even with Seth Thomas at quarterback. So those are some games for them I would definitely have scheduled, and I mean there's no reason that they can't compete in a lot of these other Hogo games. It'll just be a matter of how good that they get along the season and what they're able to do with whether Seth Thomas can find someone to reliably throw the ball to. It seems like their offense is going to be predicated on that. So.
The offense is definitely going to be based on Seth Thomas. Travis?
I agree with Travis's assessment there. There's 3 games they ought to win: Rye Cove, Twin Springs, Bland. They ought to be able to, the Patrick Henry game, that's going to be an evenly contested game. Emotions run high for that one. That's a county rivalry game. Roll Retreat, that'll be a good game. There's some winnable games on there. I agree. They're down. It's hard to believe they come from 7-3 last year. Forced to say they might struggle this season, but they're going to struggle a little bit.
I think Holston offensively is really going to be where the struggle is. Moving on to the next schedule before we get started here with our pregame picks, we got the Northwood Panthers. They open up tonight against Twin Springs on the road. Then they they play Marion at home next week. That will be the next site of Hogo game day. And then they have another home game against Bland County. Week 4, they travel to Twin Valley, then to Chilhowie in a road game. Then they will head up to Montcalm, West Virginia on the 3rd. George Wythe at home on the 10th, Holston on the 17th, and then a bye week on the 24th. They will then finish the season with a home game against Rural Retreat. And then the last game of the year, of course, will be at Patrick Henry, and that's always a big game. And me and Travis DeBusk, of course, being Patrick Henry students in our time, Patrick Henry and Northwood's always a pretty big game.
Well, you got to figure Saltville's just 5 miles down the road, so it's always been a big matchup. Again, like I said earlier, I think Northwood they're gonna be right in the middle of the pack. It wouldn't surprise me. Maybe they pick up an extra win here or there. I don't know. I just don't believe they're going to beat George Wythe, Marion, or Chilhowie. I don't think they're going to win any of those other games, but. Hey, you never know. They're a good team. He's got a change at head coach, but really nothing's different. He's been there all this time. So these guys are going to flow on just without any problem. So Northwood, middle of the pack team, but they might surprise us.
Yeah, Northwood I think will compete, Travis.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the schedule here, again, Twin Springs, Bland, Twin Valley, Montcalm. I could probably throw Holston and Patrick Henry there as surefire wins. I think the Chilhowie Northwood game will be as competitive as ever. After seeing Northwood and Radford in that jamboree last week, I was actually very impressed with Northwood. So, they definitely can be competitive. And even with Marion next week, I mean, I'm not going to count them out. So, I see them having a good season. I think I see them getting past that 6-win mark, which is something they've not done since even before 2005 or so. Maybe their big playoff year in 2003 might have been the last time they had 7 or 8 wins. So this might be the season that they do that.
Yeah, now moving on to our next Hogo team, Rural Retreat opens the season tonight on the road at Fort Chiswell. Big game. Last year, Rural Retreat was pretty weak defensively, gave up 43 points per game in their losses. They had that huge win over the Warriors at Chilhowie, so that's definitely a big plus for them going into this year with all the youth that they have. Starting off the season, of course, they will go to Fort Chiswell. Week 2, they play Bland County at home. Week 3, of course, they'll see Grayson County, as you can see on the screen. Then they have Marion at home there on the 19th. So that's basically the schedule there. At Narrows, at Patrick Henry, Chilhowie at home, open week, and then they get Holston fresh off a bye. So that could definitely be a big factor there. Get Northwood at Northwood. I think that can be a pretty good game there. A lot of tough defenses in that game, and Northwood likes to pound it up the middle. And then they finish the season with a big rivalry game with county rival George Wythe at home. So, Travis, go ahead and give me your idea about how the season will go for Rural Retreat.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, we saw them in the 7-on-7. Did they settle on a quarterback? We saw the guy that they had there, Trent O'Neill. I thought he was decent, and then I think Coach Akers told you that there was a quarterback battle. So, I mean, I'm
not sure either how the QB situation went out.
They look competitive. Well, judging by the score, they were competitive with Lebanon. So, I really don't know how to judge this Rural Retreat team. we should know to never count them out, but there are a lot of names on their roster that we've never heard of before, so it'll be interesting to see. I think Grayson might be a little down this year, so they might be competitive down. I think Narrows might be a good win for them, and I'm sure they'll pick up some Hogo wins as they go. Just they're a tough team, and they're always almost unheard of. I think you mentioned it to Coach Akers and the thing. They're always kind of the underrated dark horse team, and we should just not count them out.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people do always overlook Royal Retreat, myself included. You never know what games they might step up in and make some noise. They could win. They're probably going to win 5. They could win 6. A quarterback battle is probably a good thing to have. That can only make both quarterbacks better. So that's probably a good problem to have for Royal Retreat going into this season with the new coach.
Yeah, especially with all the youth that they have. Our next team on the ledger is Patrick Henry. They open up the season tonight at home against Thomas Walker. Then they have an early bye week in Week 2. Then they have Twin Springs at home Week 3. Week 4 at Rye Cove. Then at John Battle, which will probably be a pretty big game. I think PH, like I said earlier, starts the season 3-0. They've got the hump to get over there at John Battle, though, so we'll see how that works out for Patrick Henry. Also, a couple key injuries for the Rebels early in the season. Zach Wright's not going to be starting tonight for Patrick Henry against Thomas Walker. Zane Seymour will be the starting quarterback for the Rebels. Also, Andy Cuddy, the running back for Patrick Henry, is questionable with that shoulder injury. It's aggravated him again this year. It's been sort of a nagging injury for Andy, but if he gets back, Dakota Humphrey will be the starting running back tonight, but he's also a very talented back, and Patrick Henry is loaded on the offensive side of the ball, so we'll see everybody probably come back. They're very lucky they got that second week bye. They're really going to pay off from that. Zach's going to get a huge rest from that. If they're going to play Zach if the game's close, don't get me wrong, tonight if things don't go as planned. But if everything works out right, PH wins pretty clean against Thomas Walker, then I think Zach Wright gets the whole 2 weeks off, and really 3 weeks off. He didn't play any in the scrimmage the other night, so he's going to get 3 weeks off coming back to Twin Springs. Going ahead and looking at the Rebels, after John Battle, they start their Hogo schedule. They host Rural Retreat at home, and you never know what can happen in that game. And then you go on to at Holston, big-time rivalry, Marion at home, at George Wythe, at Chilhowie, and then Northwood. So with the Rebels, let's go ahead, Travis. Let's go ahead and break it down.
Well, Zane Seymour is a good athlete. If they got to lean on him, I think they'll do okay. I think tonight's game is going to be closer than what you think. I believe Thomas Walker is going to hang in there, and they're going to make a ball game out of it, but I do believe Patrick Henry's going to win it. And you hit the nail right on the head, just like last year. They're going to roll through these first 3 games, and then it's getting over that hump against Battle. There were a lot of high hopes last season, and I love Coach Palmer. He's probably doing what he can at Patrick Henry with what he's got. But, hey, I'm pulling for him. Let's go Rowdy Rebels.
Go Rowdy Rebels. Travis, can you give me your take on the Patrick Henry season?
Yeah, again, looking at the schedule, your prediction was that they would start 3-0, and I think looking at the schedule, there's no reason to think otherwise. They did put up a good battle at the scrimmage this past weekend without Zach Wright and Cuddy, and that kind of slipped my mind. I mean, we saw Northwood put up a good battle against Radford, and Patrick Henry even outscored Northwood in that jamboree, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, I think they can be pretty competitive in the district, and this might be the year that they jump over that hump where they actually get a Hogo win. They get a little more than 3 wins. So this is definitely a team on the up and up, and it'd be interesting to see what they do this year.
I think another thing about Patrick Henry, when you go to looking at their schedule, after the John Battle game, they get Rural Retreat at home, and then they've got Holston on the road. Patrick Henry, those are 2 very winnable games, at least this season, with new coaches. So we'll see if PH can maybe shock the district right there and start off maybe 2-0 no matter what happens in the John Battle game. But we'll just have to see how that goes as the season goes on. It's just a young year so far. Moving on, we'll talk about George Wythe. They go to Radford tonight. Then next week they will play Fort Chiswell at home. Week 3 at Marion right here. And then week 4, Floyd County, followed by Tazewell, then a bye week. Then at Northwood, at Chilhowie. 2 tough games on the road there for the Maroons. Then they have PH at home and Holston at home. They finish the season traveling to their rival Rural Retreat. So definitely going to be a good year expected from George with speed everywhere. So we'll see how that pans out. And Travis DeBus, can you tell us some things about what you see in their schedule?
Well, I think it's back to typical George Wythe football. I mean, they're going to be fast. They're going to be tough on defense. They got good athletes up there, and they're going to be right there in the hunt for the district. I think it's coming down to them and Marion. So I think George Wythe, they may, I don't know, Radford didn't look so good at the Jamboree, but they may have a tough time with Radford tonight. But beyond that, I think George Wythe will have a pretty good season.
Yeah, we saw, I guess, George Wythe shut down Clintwood last week. Judging by the score, I mean, Clintwood has a name, so they're definitely not pushovers. But holding Clintwood scoreless definitely says something about the caliber of talent at George Wythe this year. They have a new coach, probably a little bit of a different offense, but like you said, still the same old speed, still the same old tough George Wythe. So yeah, I see them having a pretty decent season. I think they'll be right up there, 1 and 2 in the district for sure.
Okay, moving on to the next two teams. Last two teams, actually. Chilhowie, we'll go ahead and break down their schedule. Chilhowie will be at Marion, of course, tonight. That's where we are. And then they will play J.I. Burton at home, at Abingdon, at Tazewell, Northwood at home, Virginia High at home, at Rural Retreat, which is a revenge game from last season, and it's going back into Indian country there with Rural Retreat. And then they got George Wythe at home, a bye week. Then they host the Patrick Henry Rebels. Then they travel to Holston High School to face the Cavaliers. So that's the schedule for the Warriors. And Travis, can you just give us a preview of what you think to expect from that schedule?
It's a pretty tough schedule, as Coach Snodgrass yelled at me across the gate there. One of the toughest schedules in Southwest Virginia, and yeah, I mean, it's a pretty tough schedule. J.I. Burton, Abingdon, decent bunch of athletes. That's always a good game between Abingdon and Chilhowie, too. Virginia High, loaded with athletes, George Wythe, Marion. It's a pretty tough schedule for a team that's trying out a bunch of, a new quarterback, new running back, stuff like that. I guess the one constant is Jeff Robinson, so they'll be a tough team. They'll be a tough out, but, the schedule is tough for them.
All right, Travis.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. That's a tough schedule there. I mean, it begins tonight. Then following up here tonight with Burton, then going to Abingdon and Tazewell. Got that real tough 4-week stretch there with Abingdon. On the road at Abingdon, on the road at Tazewell. Get Northwood at home, and then Virginia High at home. And, hey, you never know. What if they get through that stretch 4-0?
Yeah, you can never tell what's going to happen, especially with that kind of schedule. It's a very tough schedule. Moving on to our final team here before we get into picks. Marion High School. Marion, of course, will play Chilhowie tonight. Then they will head over to Northwood. Another game that'll be here for Hogo Game Day will be at Northwood. Then George Wythe at home, at Rural Retreat, at Holston, Tazewell at home, a bye week. Then they travel to Patrick Henry High School. Then they have Union at home, Virginia High at home, and then they will travel to Abingdon High School. So Marion looking to make some noise in the district this year, their second year in the district. Can you give a little preview to that?
Yeah, it's front-loaded with district matchups, which, of course, Joey Carroll said he wouldn't change anything about the schedule, but that is kind of a unique way to have a schedule. Usually your first few games are non-district, and then you jump into your district stuff. So all of their games count right off the bat. I mean, they all count, but these ones count for the district. However much weight that holds anymore, people say different things. But I think you'll measure how good Marion will be in the postseason by how they play at that Union game. I think that's a game that that's a game I have circled. I'd like to go to that game just to see how they match up against a real tough team that they could meet in the playoffs. So, yeah, I think it's a 8-win schedule at least for them, and Union will be a good game for them to measure themselves against.
I see 8 wins on that. You're right. You hit the nail on the head with the district games. I mean, how much weight do they necessarily carry anymore early on now that we're into regional playoffs or conference playoffs or the way the Virginia High School League works these days? But I'm with you. I think that's an 8 or 9 win. That's a lot of wins on there for Marion.
Yeah, it's a few wins there, 8 wins for the Hurricanes. We're going to go to a quick commercial break after this.
Let's just do it.
Actually, the rain's getting ready to start
Let's
coming down a little harder, it seems like. We're going to go ahead and get into our picks for the night, starting off with...
Well, should I go ahead and change my weather forecast to say 100% chance of rain?
Yeah, we could go ahead and change it. Let's see. We're going to start with our picks.
We can just start here. We can share this paper.
Okay, first pick of the night will be Rural Retreat at Fort Chiswell. Travis?
Rural Retreat at Fort Chiswell. I think Fort Chiswell is going to roll in this game, believe it or not. Rural Retreat, we talked about their questions at quarterback, and having two quarterbacks makes for a good competition. But can they get some points on the board? I don't know. I'm taking Fort Chiswell kind of in a blowout, 30-10.
I'm taking Fort Chiswell big as well. I think Fort Chiswell's talent and physicality up on the offensive line is definitely going to be it. Of course, they had Coleman Thomas there a year ago, so that's going to be a key loss. He now plays for the Vols. He'll be playing Sunday night against the Utah State Utes. So
roll Aggies.
Or Aggies. Oops, not the Utes. Rural Retreat is young and talented, but they haven't beaten the Pioneers since 2011. We'll be still talking about that next year because the Pioneers are going to win that game pretty big.
Yeah, Rural Retreat was weak defensively last year. They gave up 43.7 points per game in every loss. So if they tighten it up on defense, you got to think Fort Chiswell had a good season last year. They lost in the state semis to Essex. They're probably not that good this year, but I still think it's going to be a big win for Fort Chiswell.
All right, our next game up, Thomas Walker at Patrick Henry. Travis?
Patrick Henry by a touchdown. Patrick Henry 19, Thomas Walker 12.
What do you see in that game as far as key?
Well, we talked about there might be some quarterback issues for Patrick Henry with Seymour having to carry the load for them. I think he's capable, but it'll be his first go at it. But I think Patrick Henry will win it.
I say if PH plays good, clean football, it will be a wide margin of victory. But with Humphrey running back and, not right at QB now, but Seymour played very well at QB the other day, and he was just handing it off and hit a couple of plays on the play action. The wide receivers are definitely a big role for PH. But a lot of things we're not talking about is defense, guys. Defense wins championships. PH is really going to have to pick it up on defense. They can't get in these basketball games where they're running down the court or running down the field trying to keep up with the other offense. So I think PH big if they can play good, clean football. Last year it was a messy game, so PH big, barring no fumbles.
Yeah, you talked about a basketball game. If they're going to get into a basketball game with a team, Thomas Walker's the one. Last year they gave up 40-plus points in all 9 losses, 50-plus points in 5 of those, and 62 points to Clintwood. So they definitely have the saloon door defense. It swings wide open. So as long as Patrick Henry can score points and just keep scoring, I think they'll be fine. Yeah,
we'll see how that matchup works out. Now moving on to our next pick, it will be Northwood at Twin Springs. Travis?
Northwood's our middle-of-the-pack team. They're going to pick up their first win tonight. I got Northwood beating Twin Springs. There's a change at the head coaching position, like we talked, though. Not a big difference. No real changes in the way they run their systems or anything like that. Northwood 21-17.
I have Northwood as well, but by 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think Blake Olinger and that physical Panther offensive line will own that line of scrimmage in the game tonight. Expect Channing Call to have a big game, too. We don't talk about him very much, but he is a great field general for this team. And with their offense, it definitely takes a smart QB under center running so many options, and he has so many outs right there on plays as far as reading the defensive lineman and doing all sorts of stuff as far as reading the safety. So, Travis, go ahead and give your pick for Northwood Twin Springs.
Well, Northwood's definitely on the up and up. Between 2007 and 2011, they only had 6 wins. They've been 11-11 the last 2 seasons, and that speaks volumes to what Mark Fry's been able to do there. And even though he's not the head coach, he's still on the sidelines. And minus Jason Prater, who's felt like he was there for 10 years. They still have some old names there. The Call and Olinger. They've definitely seen some varsity play time, and I think their experience and just their sheer power, I think, will be more than enough to beat Twin Springs.
Yeah, so all of us have Northwood there in that game. Next matchup, Holston at Rye Cove. Travis?
Holston we talked about. We think they're a little down. We don't think they're the team they were, and it's hard to believe that they, coming off a 7-win season last year, but I think they are going to win tonight. No, I don't think they're going to win tonight. I think they're going to start this thing off with a loss. I'm going to take Rye Cove, and in the upset, Holston's on the road over there. I'm going to take Rye Cove 21-20.
You just not so fast yourself.
Yeah, you just not so fast. Yeah, Holston by a touchdown.
So I was going to let you guys try to talk me into taking the district team there.
Yeah, Holston by a TD. Seth Thomas' athleticism is enough to beat the Eagles, who have struggled in the past against, they've beat Holston in 2011, but since then Holston's had their number, 42-0 and 41-8. Rye Cove's weak defensively. They allowed 44 points per game. Finished the season last year 2-8 for the second straight year. Holston, but it's closer than usual by a touchdown just because they're trying to get everything in gear. If he wins, if Coach Patterson wins, that'll be his first win as a head coach. Good luck to him. I wish him luck. Got them close over Rye Cove.
Yeah, I think if all else were even between Holston and Rye Cove, Seth Thomas is still the best player on the field when you add him into the equation. So, again, Holston is down, but I still think with Seth Thomas on the field, they're a better team than Rye Cove.
All right, moving on. We got George Wythe at Radford, probably the closest matchup tonight as far as games. If this wasn't a district game, this would be the game I would love to be at. Speed on both teams, offensively and defensively. Travis, can you give me your pick for that game?
You're right, George Wythe. They're breaking in a new coach again tonight. George Wythe, let me say this first. I think they're going to be a better team than they were last season. I think Radford's not going to be the same team, not as good a team as they were last season. However, it's early. It's at Radford. Travis, he's from he knows those guys up there. They're pretty fanatical. I'm going to take the Radford fans, and I'm going to give Radford to win 30-29.
30-20. Ooh, a close game. I think speed is a factor. It's a toss-up. Radford likes to get to the edge. I think this is a game where we'll see who can maintain, get some blocks on the edge. It's going to be key that their wide receivers are able to get outside and block. I know it's underrated to have wide receivers that block, but we'll see how good those teams are. Speed with Radford, like I said. Thing that sort of scares me about Radford is they're not physical. Northwood outmanned them the other day at Patrick Henry High School in the Bank of Marion Classic. If Radford's physical, they can hang with anybody up front. It's just about that. They're more of a finesse team. George Wythe has won the last 4 against Radford. How can I not pick George Wythe? I'm going to pick Radford at home, beating George Wythe in the best non-district opener this week. So I'm picking Radford as well.
I'm going to stick to the Hogo team. I'm going to stick with George Wythe. Last year they were their weakest they've been defensively since 1996. They gave up 26.7 points per game last year. That's not near as much as teams like Thomas Walker and stuff like that. But for a 6-5 team and a team that is usually as consistent as George Wythe, that's interesting. So I think they'll be better this year. They have the new coach. They did well against Clintwood in the preseason game, 13-0. And like you said, I thought Northwood was more physical than Radford in that matchup last week, and I think George Wythe, having beaten Clintwood 13-0, shows that they're probably more physical than Radford too. So I'm going to take the Maroons.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on, we're to the big matchup tonight: Chilhowie at Marion. Marion, of course, is at home. We're here at this game. Travis, go ahead and give me your pick.
Well, we've covered a lot of the intangibles, especially the fact that this is a rivalry game. Chilhowie, just down 10 miles down the road. They share the same county. Let's face it, Chilhowie's always second tier to Marion, right? I mean, Marion's the county seat. Marion's got, all the cool stuff. So, Chilhowie, they feel like the little brother. Chilhowie picked one up last year. They took them to overtime to get it, but they snuck up on Marion, knocked Marion off in that first Hoagie district game. I think Marion they're going to win this district this year. In the process, I think they're going to win 8 games, maybe 9 games, and they're going to win their first game next week in Saltville. Tonight, I'm taking Chilhowie in the win.
Ooh, upset. All right. Tonight, Marion, of course, is at home looking for revenge. Hunter Leffler at QB with the read option, no huddle, Wagner at running back. A great offensive team. I'm really got a lot of questions about their defense. Chilhowie comes in as the defending champs of the Hoga. Also a 13-7 victory, like you said, last year in overtime. Very sloppy game. We're hoping for a cleaner game out here tonight. First-year QB in Hunter Delp, new stable of running backs. How could you not pick Chilhowie here after what they've done in the district the past year? They ran the table pretty much other than that one loss to Rural Retreat. Very talented team. Last year, Chilhowie's 2 touchdowns were scored by Justin Jones, who has since graduated. A lack of production on offense tonight will hurt Chilhowie at Marion, and Marion will win tonight at home, defend their turf, and take charge of the Hoga. That's my pick, and I'm going to stick to it there. So Marion winning.
Yeah, well, I guess they do have a Walmart here. That's a little more than they have in Chilhowie. But they also have.
Let's not forget the Little Caesars.
Oh, and the Little Caesars. Pizza. Yeah. But they also have Wagner, Leffler. They have a lot of proven commodities that have played some varsity ball and actually played it very well. Chilhowie's breaking in some new names, and I think that will be the difference. Just those names we talked about will be the difference in this one. So, yeah, I think Marion's definitely got the edge in this one. And also want to point out, since 1950, Marion leads the series 35-28-2, which was also in the Bristol Herald Courier today, which I think was borrowed from a website. So thank you, Bristol Herald Courier, for stealing my stats. It's all good. It's all good. But I think it'll be 36-28-2 after tonight.
Well, that's got all our picks. Travis is the only one that went against the home crowd here. He picked Chilhowee, I picked Marion, you picked Marion. So we're going to go ahead and move on up and see if we can get ready for the broadcast. It'll start right here on the page that you're on. If you're on Hogo Game or HogoGameDay.com, right below us, we've got the link there where you can click the embedded link to listen to our live game broadcast. It will start at 7 o'clock, so make sure you tune in to it as well. You can also just go to Spreaker.com, go to www.spreaker.com/user/Hogo Network if you want to view the game on a mobile device while you're at another game. So that's another way you can listen to tonight's game. And as far as that, thank you for tuning in to the first ever Hogo Game Day pregame show live from Marion High School. And we'll be ready to go later.